Hi all, welcome to the next in the series, Understanding and Using Excel. This time we'll look more closely at formulas and functions. A function is simply a pre-written formula. We'll look closely today at the auto sum and other statistical formulas. Just a bit of background information first. The demonstration will cover how I can use the inbuilt formulas called functions, and we'll see how Excel guesses at the numbers that I want added, averaged, counted, etc. A couple of quick tips. You can always pause the demonstration to read the screen contents, replay the demonstration as often as you want, of course, and it's best viewed in full screen mode at the highest resolution. Remember to subscribe so you'll always be notified of many more Excel hints, tips and procedures. On with the demonstration. Here I have a spreadsheet which shows the number of animals in a veterinary surgery. The surgery has 4 pens in which it keeps animals in different little cages waiting their little operations, and what I want to do is to use Excel to add in pen number 1 the number of animals which are in that particular pen. Now I could type equals C8 plus C9 plus C10, etc. But what if there were lots and lots of cells that I wanted to add? That method would be much too slow, much too cumbersome and very prone to errors. Excel gives me a command called AutoSum to overcome the problem. To access the AutoSum command, we're going to use the Formulas tab above the ribbon to access the command. We'll see that there is a drop arrow underneath the AutoSum command which allows us to use other statistical functions, which we'll use later in the demonstration to find the average number of animals per pen, the number of pens, etc. So remember, a function, we'll be using the sum function initially, is purely a pre-written formula. How does it work? Well, I'm going to go up here to the Formulas tab after clicking in the cell in which I want the answer, and I see here in the function library that there is an auto sum button. It looks like the Greek letter sigma. It says add cells for me. Just below there is a little drop arrow there which shows me other statistical functions. For our purposes in this cell I'm going to click the sum function. Excel looks up the column and it says, are there 2 or more cells that I can add? If there are, then it surrounds its guess with what we call a scrolling marquee. Some people call them marching ants. And if I press enter, then I see that the total number of animals is 29. Now that's a whole lot quicker than typing equals C8 plus C9, etc. What I can do now, I can autofill that particular cell across by clicking on the cell, and here in the bottom right hand corner is a little blob called the autofill button. You can just see it there. When I point my mouse at it, it has a crosshair, and if I hold down the left mouse button and simply drag across, it copies the formula across. So I've only got to type the formula once in there, and it will automatically be inserted and take care of the column references as I move through. What I mean by that is if I click back on that cell and look up here in the formula bar, equals sum C8 to C14, no problem there. This cell, D8 to D14, E8 to E14 and F8 to F14. So it's done the right thing. But I'm going to delete the contents of those cells because sometimes Excel guesses incorrectly. For example, let's say that I didn't want to include the mouses in the for whatever reason I don't want to include the mouses in the count. So I'm going to click in that cell again, go up to the auto sum button. We'll just click on the button this time. It looks up the column and it guesses that they are the cells I want to add, but it's guessed incorrectly. To overcome that, I drag down through the cells that I do want to add, hold down my control key and then select the other cells. In other words, I've left out the mouse. Now when I press return, I see it has only added the cells, or it has added all the cells except the mouse cell. So that's how I overcome it when it guesses incorrectly. So I'm going to undo that last action. I do want to include the mouses this time, so auto sum, yep, guessed correctly. Control enter keeps me in the same cell, and now I can simply autofill across. Now, what if I wanted to know the average number of animals in all of the pens? I'll click in this cell. Now, the way Excel works here is that if there are no cells above, which is where it looks initially, it will look to the left, and we'll see that. So I'm going to click the drop arrow here and choose average. It's looked across to the left, it's guessed correctly, so this time I'll hold down my control key and press enter, and there are 3.75 animals. God knows how we get 3/4 of an animal, but that's the average number of animals per pen. Now I can simply drag that down, and there I will see the average number of animals per pen. Now we don't particularly want those cells bolded, so I'll simply take the bold off, and it's looking at font size 14. We don't want that, we'll go back to 11, and there we are. What about the number of pens? I want to count the number of pens. The answer should be 4, but let's see what Excel does. If I click in that cell, remember that there are no cells above for it to take into account, so I'm going to click the Formulas tab, the drop arrow, and say count the numbers. How many cells have numbers in them? Has it guessed correctly? The answer is no, because it has included the average number per pen. So what I need to do is to simply drag through the cells that I do want to be counted, and now it stops at F8, and when I press enter, there we go. I can now autofill that down, and the average number of the count of the number of pens is of course 4 in every case. What about the highest number of animals in any pen? Here I use the max function, which is maximum, the highest number in a group. So I'll click on max. It's guessed incorrectly again. I don't want the average number or the number of pens included. I only want to find the highest number of animals in those pens. So now when I press enter, the highest number of animals is 7, and I can autofill that formula down again. The lowest number of animals in any pen is the min function, minimum. So let's click min. It's guessed incorrectly. Those are the cells I drag through that I want to include, and I press the enter key. So the lowest number of animals in any given pen is 1. Back to that cell, I can now autofill down, and there is the lowest number of animals in any pen. Okay, so that's how Excel uses the auto sum and the other statistical functions. It's really quite simple. Remember, practice makes perfect. So keep an eye out for the next in the series, and remember to subscribe. Thanks for watching, guys.